This broadcast will start in 15 seconds. This broadcast will start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Voice of Stockton. For more information on The Voice of Stockton, go to thevoiceofstockton.org.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS The Voice of Stockton or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
About just the holidays coming up, and we are just broadcasting off the Miracle Mile in Stockton, California. And I like to say that the things that happen here really have global implications. And so I'm, of course, Jim T. Chong, and you are tuned in to Walk the Talk. And today we are going to be highlighting some very special things for us to consider as we go into the new year 2019, and that is your health and wealth. And what I'm going to be focusing on today are basically things that that matter most, and that is culture, commerce, and community. And I wanted to start out here just with what I am thankful for. Now, this is after Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving is a great time to pull together, and pretty much everyone is happy except for the turkeys. But I'm here also with Ed, and he is with the Voice of Stockton. He runs the board here. He's a fine young gentleman, and I will tell you that there are a lot of things to be thankful for, and I want to ask you, Ed, what are you thankful for?
Well, for the most part, I'm thankful for my friends and family, and I'm most especially thankful for the people here at the Voice of Stockton. I mean, being a college student and whatnot, I truly appreciate having the experience here.
Great. Well, you know, one thing I love about radio is the fact that really radio can be for everyone, and you don't have to look exceptional. You can look okay. You don't even have to look you can even do it in your pajamas these days with radio and the advent of media. But I'm really also thankful for family and also for just opportunities to be able to be the difference in people's lives. And I want to have us all consider, are we living our life on purpose? In 2019, I know that many of us are really focused on making a difference with a lot of the friends I'm talking to. I'm very excited. You see the cover of the book, Breaking Barriers, Decisions to Elevate People from Ordinary to Extraordinary. We had Roger Palmieri on here. He is an incredible mindset performance expert as well. He wrote the preface to this book, and we have some great plans to help launch people into 2019. He helps seven-figure earners really achieve their dreams and really holds them accountable to intentions they set for themselves. And I want us to consider what we have to be thankful for. This is after Thanksgiving. And Ed, what usually happens after Thanksgiving?
Well, Black Friday for starters, because that's the day after. But, you know, after Thanksgiving, usually people get ready for the holidays, especially Christmas and everything.
Yeah, and, you know, Christmas is a really great time. It celebrates a lot of things in terms of just what we have to be thankful for. And over here in the U.S., of course, we talk about Christmas celebrating the birth of Christ in a lot of cases, and different religions celebrate Christmas in different ways. You know, one religion calls it a winter wonderland. Was an event that I went to, and it's very interesting because I know different cultures and communities have different meanings behind this time of year. But I want us to think about what we want to do and achieve in 2019. And talking about culture, I have to give this shout out here. Do you know the words lumpia?
Oh, I love lumpia.
Crispy pata?
I haven't heard of that.
All right. Well, what culture is that indicative of?
Honestly, I'm not really sure what culture that comes
lumpia?
from. Yeah,
okay.
lumpia. It's something that I've gotten to try a couple of times before, but I wasn't too
familiar. Lumpia is from the Filipino culture.
Oh, okay.
Right? And crispy pata is a lot of the it's great. It's great stuff. Basically, a fried ham hock, and it's very good. And also, food is something we have to be thankful for. But I know, just announcing in advance, June 15th, we have the Filipino Independence Day that's going to be celebrated. Guess where?
Where?
Right here in Stockton, California.
Hey,
and so
how
I
about
want us
that?
to think about that day, set that day aside. And in terms of culture, it is always a great experience to learn about different cultures and communities. And I want to also highlight something I'll be talking more about. I got a personal invitation from the mayor over in Elk Grove to attend the event, the Hmong New Year event over in Cal Expo, which is the fairgrounds in Sacramento. And one of the things that's really neat about the Hmong community, the first thing about celebrating the Hmong New Year is the fact that, think about this time of year, right? This is not really the new year. This is kind of the end of year. But they're celebrating their new year already because they actually celebrate the new year during their time of harvest. And, this is when they do a lot of the harvesting. And so this is the best time for them to really come together with a lot of the food coming together and the culture and community. And I experienced a lot just being there. And Steve Lee, which is the mayor of Elk Grove, reelected. Congratulations to Mr. Lee and Mayor Lee over in Elk Grove. He told me a little bit about the tradition. We had to experience a lot of great things. One of the things that we experienced is, I'm going to tell you a little game that they do there. But before I do, I have to introduce somebody. He just came on here a little while ago. He is from the Great White North. His name is Bob Larrett. So, Bob, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. We're looking down on the States these days.
Yeah, well, he's over from this great location up north. They call it the Great White North, and that is Canada. And tell me, Bob, how do you spell Canada? C-A-N-A-D-A. Yeah. Wow, I thought you were going to do it the Canadian way. C-A-N-A-D-A. Anyway, just a little humor here. Maybe it wasn't so funny over there, but we get a kick out of it here in the States here. And I just want to talk a little bit about culture. And we were talking about the Hmong community. And have you ever been to a Hmong celebration, Bob?
No, actually, I haven't. I've been to celebrate holidays, religious holidays, particularly Christmas, Hanukkah, things like that in different religions, but I've never been to that particular one.
Yeah, and they're just celebrating the new year. We were talking about it happening at the time of harvest, and they have a really interesting tradition here. It's a time where people come together, and I love the innocence of this, and I love how simple it is. They basically take what's round, spherical, and you play catch with it. That is usually called a ball. For many of you that don't know what that is, we, of course, know that this is a phone. We're very familiar with this. But there was a time and place where people went out. They played different sorts of ball. Football, baseball, basketball, tetherball. I hope, in all sincerity, that the youth get out, still experience a lot of those sports. But they actually take a little ball and they just toss it back and forth. And traditionally, it's between men and women or boys and girls. And that was the way you met women. Basically, you'd toss the ball back and forth and you'd share little quips about each other and just have a discussion there. And it's a good thing if the person you're throwing the ball to is still throwing the ball back and forth with you. So this could actually happen for hours. And I just thought that was so neat. And have you ever experienced anything like that, Bob?
No, quite honestly, not quite like that. We do have different forms of mixed teams to play different sports, baseball, flag football and things like that. But most sports that are actually played even between individuals, unless it's something like ping pong or whatever, most sports are played either with an all-male or an all-female team, just the way they've developed.
And that's what I loved about this. This was just a way for people to engage with each other. It wasn't about the phone. It was actually about doing something physical. And that was actually the courting place during the New Year.
Yep.
There was a place allocated for that where you met that special girl. And I would tell you, in terms of the culture, I loved it. I saw this gentleman. He must have been maybe 20, a little bit younger than you and I, Bob. And one of the things I thought was so cool, he was only boy there doing it. But at that age, I thought it was so neat. He was actually holding a single rose. And I thought, wow, what a great way to just start a great relationship by handing somebody a beautiful rose. So he was just waiting for the right one. And actually, Steve Lee, the mayor, was engaging in a discussion with him. I did a little Facebook Live with it and just asked him, what's this for? He says, well, I might meet somebody really neat. And so if I find that somebody really neat, I'm going to give him the rose, give her the rose. And I just thought that was so innocent, so sweet, and so indicative of the past generations, but so indicative of the culture. And I just don't see that here anymore. And it just touched me to take something so simple to engage people. It wasn't a phone. It wasn't about a strategy. It wasn't about an expensive dinner. It was just about doing something really simple to engage in conversation. But with the Hmong community, I just wanted to share with you a little bit about how they celebrated the New Year's. Of course, there was a lot of food. I found out that Sacramento is the second largest engagement of the Hmong community. Over the weekend, there's about 50,000 people that show up there. Fresno has the biggest convergence of the Hmong community for the Hmong New Year. That's about 200,000 people that go and have a great time there. And they're all dressed up in their colorful outfits. And I learned a little bit about the color, about the tradition, and it was just very, very special. But I wanted to encourage all of us to think about the different people that were around. It's great to experience a lot of different things and learn about a different culture, a different community. I saw the Hmong community. If you ever saw the Hmong dance, they do some really elegant dancing, but they also had different colors. And somebody was educating me that a certain color represented a certain Hmong lineage, and usually they identify themselves that way. They take pride in it, and it started out with white, but then it got more colorful. So there are some communities that wore green, some communities that wore blue, some communities that wore yellow. And I just thought, what a great way to celebrate the New Year. And I'm saying New Year because it was their New Year celebration, by learning and experiencing their culture. And of course, the food is always great. And I just had a great time. So I wanted to give a shout out to the mayor of Elk Grove, Steve Lee, for inviting me. That was a great time. And it was just very exceptional to be able to see the little things that were going on. And even for a little while, the older people, like my friend Bob from the Great White North, the older people, they actually did the same thing, throwing the ball together. But what happened was the men would recite poetry or sing songs, and that's how they would get to know each other, by reciting prose or being able to just communicate that way. And I go, that's pretty interesting. And we have to remember the origin of it. The community is usually of farmers, because that culture is primarily built of farming and agriculture. And so that's a big deal in the country. And so that is how people engage with each other. They don't have necessarily all this media from the past. And so you were forced, and I'm going to use the word in quote, forced, to engage one-on-one with people and interact, actually. So I just think that's such a special thing. And so I want you to think about maybe some community you want to get to know a little bit. And I always start with the food, but then you find out a lot about the different communities there. So I just wanted to ask you, Bob, over in Canada, do you have a lot of ethnic communities there? The Asian community, the Hmong community.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you see a lot of the different diversities.
Yeah, Canada is truly a melting pot of diverse cultures and nationalities, and let's face it, basically United States and Canada both came from the same roots, originally being British colonies, and the influx of immigrants over the years is quite often what has led to our population growth. And a part of the diversity of cultures and whatnot has gone into our makeup of the type of people that we are. I live about 15 or 20 minutes away from New York State. That's how long it takes me to cross the bridge over the river and arrive at the customs office in New York State. And I have traveled back and forth between the United States and Canada on a relatively frequent basis for my entire life. And as far as I'm concerned, I have felt at home in both countries. And I've traveled widely in both countries. And there are some amazing people out there. And I find that, in all honesty, the willingness of other peoples to befriend you and take you in and share some of their customs with you and so on depends so much on your own outlook and your own willingness to receive their kindness. It's sad to say that there are people that carry bigoted opinions of anything that's different. But if you, and remember, I'm speaking from a lot of years here, Jim. If you decide that you want to expand your personal horizons and your personal outlook, getting to meet other people, every religion, every color, every nationality, every belief, and get to know what they're about. It doesn't mean that you have to change, but you will change just simply by having that broader experience.
Wow, it's so true. And I think that a lot of people miss out because they don't get an opportunity, or they don't make the opportunity to experience a lot of culture. So I just encourage people to be able to expand their horizons this year, perhaps get to know a new culture, community, group of friends. And as I mentioned before, just 2019 is going to be a great year. And whatever year we are entering into, I love to start clean. I think everyone thinks about that as well. But I want to just end this section by mentioning the fact that, again, come June 15th, there is a special day, the Filipino Independence Day, that's going to be right here in Stockton, California. And so we're going to talk more about that just in upcoming months and stuff as well. So plan that date, because it is a special time to celebrate Independence Day. And of course, we as a country know about that as well a little bit. So let's give a hats off and a good round of applause for all of those in different cultures and communities. So, going into commerce here, I want to talk about just why commerce is so important. Of course, we know that I've had a money show for several years over on Money 105.5 FM in Greater Sacramento. That is a nationwide network. And I wanted to mention the fact that on that show, our money show, we call it Rush Hour for Success, we talk about how money is so very important. Because when you have a lot of money, Ed, how many choices do you have when you have a lot of money?
You have infinite options, really.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
What if you have a little bit of money?
You have limited options.
Yeah. You have a little bit of choice. Yeah. What if you have no money?
Honestly, a lot of people would say you have no options, but I still think that you have limited options.
Yeah, you know what? You do have limited options, and you do have, in some cases, no choice, because what happens is, you think about it, if you have no money, the choices are chosen for you. Because wherever you go is wherever there's opportunity to be able to do it. And I know a lot of people will look at things positively, but you think about this, right? If you don't have any money, let's say you have zero money. I see you, Ed, about ready to comment here. And this is a great discussion. And I know, I know that you have something possibly to say about that last comment.
I understand that when you don't have money, things seem very limited, especially when it comes to trying to pursue your aspirations in life. Say you had a certain goal and you're unable to achieve it at the moment because you're low on funds. I feel as though there are ways of still pursuing your dreams, but you kind of have to look at the borders of the big picture.
Right, correct.
Like I myself, I really want to get out there in the entertainment industry, somewhere in television and radio. But I don't have the funds to buy the fancy cameras or the fancy microphones to go out there and broadcast. But what I do instead, I volunteer here at the radio station.
Yeah.
I get as much experience as I can running the soundboard. My resume is built up perfect for if I ever want to apply at a bigger radio station. And I also get to pursue my dream of having my own little show right here on radio and online at the same time. So I feel money is definitely a huge contribution to helping you pursue your dreams, but it shouldn't be the main thing you should consider when you want to pursue a dream.
And you know what? You're absolutely right on this. And I love this because this is a great conversation that we could have a little bit about commerce. Is coming up a little impromptu. Bob, I just want to get your thoughts on that whole comment about the fact that when you don't have any money, you don't have any choices. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are quite simply to consider some of the people that we all know of today that started with very little or next to nothing. They found a way to scratch their way towards whatever was their objective. They say a goal is just a dream unless you have a plan. And I think that you can create a plan as long as your mental capability and physical capability allows you to pursue that plan in a reasonable sense. But anybody can plan. And so whether you're the richest man in the world or the poorest man in the world, if you plan and you follow that plan and you discipline yourself to stay on that plan, I think you can probably achieve, I won't say anything, but I will say great things.
Yes.
And great things may be relative to where you start from, but I think anybody can do better.
Yes, and that is a true statement. Now, here's an interesting comment. Even with that whole statement about with no money, there's no choice. Now, I'm just going to take us down a discussion here. Okay. Bob, do you have any money?
Yes, I have some money.
Okay, great. Do you have any money, Ed?
I have a little bit from a relative.
Right. Now, here's the interesting thing. Here in this country, and I'm sure in Canada too, even though you don't take sides too often, but the whole thing is that we here are really blessed because even though we see limitations because of the lack of money, it doesn't mean we have no money. It's just that we have maybe a little bit compared to someone else. But yet in other countries, they experience not just being hungry, they experience not just having limited food to eat, but no food to eat a lot of times, and they experience starvation. We experience hunger. And this is a difference here. If we was to say, okay, Ed, you have no money, right? Okay, what does that mean? Well, where can you live?
With relatives, I suppose.
Okay.
I can't afford my own place. But
okay. So what choices do you really have? If you have no money, not a little bit of money, no money.
If I had no money, I have options, but they're very limited. If I needed a place to stay at, I would have to stay at a friend's or a relative's house temporarily. I, of course, would have to look for work. I could volunteer at places to build up a resume to get a really good standing job, but I would still need to find work.
Right.
There are places around here, like hospitals and whatnot, that allow you to take free showers, get supplies that are needed. There are places where I could get
But do you get a shower where you want to shower?
Not when I want to take a shower.
Do you get to live where you want to live?
Not where I want to live.
Do you get to go to places you want to go to?
Sometimes, yes.
They might be there.
The opportunities are always there. I don't think money always is.
Would you be able to go to Disneyland? Simple trip. If you had no money.
Very unlikely that I would be able to go. very unlikely.
And the reason why I want this to sink home is not to focus on the negative, but to really understand how important it is to gain stability.
Oh, yeah.
And Robert brought up a word, plan, to be able to plan for that stability. As we grow up, we know that really if we don't have any money, like literally no money, we don't really have options. We have, well, not options we would choose necessarily, you know? And so really the options are chosen for you by default or by the grace of somebody. And so I know that's not the way I want to live my life, and I believe that most people do not want to live their life. And that's why I want to have you consider, those of you that are listening, just going into this year, what is your plan for commerce? What is your plan for getting yourself to get to the next level in terms of just, you know, your life, where you want to go? A lot of people have great aspirations, but they need the planning to get there. And, you know, it's very exciting to see people achieve a lot of things. But I guarantee you, with any achievement, this studio being put together, this is a nonprofit organization. Somebody put out the money. Money played a key role to put things together. But for all of us to let that sink in, and yes, we can live the dream, but I'll tell you, if you have the money to do it, you can live a lot more of that American dream. What we call the American dream, Bob, for those of you that are out there in Canada. So, but I want us to consider that and let that really sink in, because, you know, we need to really have a strategy and a direction and a vision about where we want to go, and also the goals that support that vision. Now, I want to tell you, really success is not about any sort of judgment on people, but success is really just a feeling. Success is that whole thing, whatever we define it to be. Success isn't necessarily just money. I want to make sure that's very clear. However, money plays a big role in terms of letting you wear some decent clothes, letting you have shelter, letting you eat, just eat, period.
Oh, yeah.
You know, shelter plays, money plays a big role for you to be able to support other endeavors. And so I want us to consider, if you really want to be able to live the dream and you want to be able to support other people, that planning has to consist of some aspect of your wealth. Any comments there, Bob?
No, I think that's fair comment. I will say that there are a lot of things in this world that one could say, oh boy, I wish I had that, I wish I had that. I happened to see a $5 million Bentley on the news the other night. It looked rather sharp. I don't have $5 million, but you know what? That doesn't bother me because I don't want a Bentley.
Yeah.
I see people with, you know, big yachts and big mansions and all the rest of that, and I think they're wonderful. You know, they might be great to see or visit or be on, but, you know, on the other hand, that's not something that I need. So if I have enough to allow me to meet my goals, and I'm not just talking financially, but in other aspects of life as well, then I am fulfilled. I'm happy. I'm successful, according to me. Somebody else might look at me and say, well, you know, he could have done better, but are they just measuring money? They have no idea how happy I am with my family and friends and what surrounds me. So, right. Yeah, I mean, you know, make a plan, make it realistic, and money plays a part of it. You know, there's certainly some, even if I will say one of my objectives is to be able to give money away. Now, you know, I can't throw out hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars to different charities, but I can help with some of those things that I choose, whether it's a food bank, whether it's a local Salvation Army, or whether it's through a church, or you know, whatever that organization might be. It might be helping to fund a studio.
Yeah.
but the point is that what it is that moves me, I can help make it move. And again, to me, that's a definition of success.
That's great. And it's very important to be able to understand success is not about what other people think. Success is what you think for yourself. And this year, again, as you put together your plan, I hope you consider what is success by your definition. And it's easy to compare. It's easy to talk about what we don't have, but really think about what you do have and basically what is your definition for success? Because your success is measured by whatever tool you choose to measure it by. And we've heard this analogy. There's a great YouTube video on this and great videos on this. But if you was going to rate a fish based on its ability to climb a tree, that fish is really in trouble. So if you was to rate a fish by swimming, well, a monkey might be in trouble. And so it really depends by what instrument you use to measure what your success is. So make sure you're clear in terms of what success means to you, because then you can feel confident. And it's very easy. Let's say if you're in that situation where you can't afford a brand new car, where you're maybe lacking a little funding to be able to do that, and then somebody drives up with a Mercedes, and then you see another car drive up and there's a Bentley, and another car that's a BMW, and maybe your car is a little bit older. Are you still going to feel like you're successful? I hope so, because maybe you were the person that gave a meal to a child. That's success. But define what your success is, because all of us can choose what our definition of success is. It may be to make a lot of money, but I hope in that it is including living your life on purpose and for a purpose. And so thinking about commerce, money drives everything. But as we're on the topic, just your wealth is so very important. Now, there's a difference between being rich in the sense of just having a lot of money and being wealthy in the sense of just having a lot of abundance. And we can't really say that life is really great unless we put the other part of the equation of wealth. That is your health. And many people, especially as you get older, they start dealing with sort of physical ailments and stuff as well. And I saw this video. It was really interesting. This one lady is just a short video, but basically the guy basically loves, this guy basically loves this woman. The woman says, "Do you really love me?" And she's feeling a little insecure. She wipes her makeup off. She takes off her lipstick. She takes a little bit of her hair that's falling out. She takes her eyelash out. She says, "This is really me. Do you love me?" And, of course, it ends with the guy walking up to her and really confirming that, yes, I do. This is what I love. Thanks for sharing the real you. And so, but the health as we get older is so very important. And I know one of the things that has affected a lot of people is diabetes, just to target one thing to talk about. And I know I've really been excited about just looking at my own health. As I get older, I'm almost catching up to you, Bob, but the reality is I will never catch up with you in terms of age. But I have a great product I take, and it has 39 superfoods. It helps me rejuvenate. But we had been talking about a product really that helps people with diabetes specifically, right? And it really is a significant product. Can you tell us a little bit first about why this product is so special? But before that, just very briefly, what people go through when they're diabetic. Because I don't really know. I'm aware of what people go through, but what do people go through when they're diabetic if they have a bad situation with diabetes?
Well, first of all, I'm not a diabetic either. So, be aware of that. And secondly, I'm not a doctor. So I don't prescribe anything. I don't talk about anything that should be viewed as a treatment or a cure. But certainly I have studied and been a part of for decades things that can help with our health. one of the things that many people are not aware of is that diabetes is running rampant around the world. Diabetes could essentially be defined as an epidemic. It is that serious, and the other serious part of it is that a third to a half of the people that have diabetes don't even know they have it.
Wow.
So yeah, that makes it pretty serious, and the first thing I would advise anybody, literally of any age, if at all possible, is to find a doctor or a clinic or some way to be tested for diabetes, because there is a stage of diabetes that is called pre-diabetes, and that means that you're on the verge, but you can manage that situation and back away from it very quickly through proper diet, exercise, and good health management. And any doctor or health counselor out there, whether it's an MD, naturopath, or any other type of medical specialist, can certainly help you with a plan. Again, we talk about a plan to avoid getting diabetes.
You know, and I know just really briefly, you know, I know we're running out of time here, but this is such a great topic we'll continue on as well. But I know that diabetes is rampant, and there's a lot going on, and a lot has to do with, I believe, our environment, what we eat, what we are allowed to eat right now. And, you know, diabetes can kill, obviously. And so you were talking to me, and just intrigued me about this one thing that it really seems like it is a great alternative to what is currently out there. And what's currently out there is something called metformin. Is that correct?
Yep.
And that solution is, again, it has a lot of side effects from what I understand when you take it.
Negative.
And so tell us a little bit about just this solution that had been developed by a doctor and sounds like it's really effective.
Well, the doctor actually is from Florida, and he was involved in the Florida Citrus Marketing organization. I believe he led that organization for some time, and where this thing started actually was with a view towards, and many of us have heard of, grapefruit and weight loss. It seems that every time somebody comes up with a different spin on a grapefruit diet, you know, people run out in hordes and buy up all the grapefruit they can find, and then very soon it's all gone. But through more than a decade, probably a couple of decades of research, he formulated a product which is completely natural, and it does have citrus in it, but what it does is it manages sugars and carbohydrates in your body. And to really get to the crux of the matter, one needs to understand that sugars and carbohydrates that we eat in our diets, and it's impossible to avoid them. We're not just talking table sugar. We're talking all kinds of foods as well. They cause what is called chronic inflammation in your body. You don't even know you have it. And this chronic inflammation is actually the major cause of many diseases, many illnesses, not just diabetes. But because diabetes is such a rampant epidemic at this point in time, it is what is focused on. So this particular product, through all of its research and development and so on, and the clinical testing of it, whereby it was proven that it was more effective for diabetics than metformin, ended ended up being nominated for a Nobel Prize in 2015. And the doctor, Dr. Joseph Ahrens, that's Ahrens, for those who would like to investigate for themselves, Dr. Ahrens himself was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize in 2016, and that's a separate story and actually has to do with the use of this product to help fight Ebola in West Africa. The product itself, the first thing that it does is it blocks the sugar receptors in your body. Not all of them, but some of them. And as a result, about a third of the carbs and sugars that you eat will pass through your body. They will not be absorbed. That in itself would be a major miracle. But the other thing that it does is understand that carbohydrates are essentially sugars, because as they break down, they convert into sugars, and your body does certain things with sugars. Now, your body needs sugars. It needs sugars to survive. Your brain needs sugars to operate. Your muscles need sugars to operate, and that includes your heart. So there is good purpose for carbs and sugars in your diet, and that's the way that we have evolved. But going back in terms of our early days of evolution, fruits had these types of characteristics in them. Essentially things that are called sugar chaperones.
Yeah. Now we have about 3 minutes here, Bob, but I just wanted for you to have your time to be able to share this. And we'll continue this discussion because this is really good as I'm hearing this, and I think I need to be educated a little bit more on this topic. So, but we have about 3 minutes right now.
Just let me say off the top that it is impossible to avoid sugars and carbohydrates in what we eat today. And everybody, every mammal that exists would benefit from the use of this product to accompany the sugars in your body, to manage them well, to do the right things with them, and to avoid getting diabetes, or to help to manage your blood sugars within healthy ranges. And that's the crux of this product, through managing chronic inflammation, managing blood sugars, and that type of thing. It just simply makes a huge difference to the health of anybody that's taking it. And there's much more information, and I'll be glad to share it another day, Jim.
Great. And so if people are interested in basically a solution for their diabetic, like I mentioned, I'm not diabetic, but I know people that are, and I know this would be great. How could they reach you? What is the email address they can reach you at?
Quite honestly, my preference would be that they reach you.
Okay.
And when you wish to pass them on to me, it's not because I don't want to meet people. I love meeting and talking to people, but I have many sources of people approaching me, and
Got it.
I would like to be able to identify and give special respect to people that come through you.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate that. And so if you're interested in the product, you can go ahead and contact me. You can Facebook message me, of course, at Jim T Chong, Jim T Chong on Facebook, or you can reach me at area code 916-800-4705, and we'll talk about this a little bit, and I can put you in touch with Bob. And I know that you're very busy. A lot of people are talking to you, and just a little insight that the reason why I'm excited is because I love giving solutions to people, and I know, Bob, you're very connected with the people that are helping bring this solution to the marketplace. So thank you, Bob, for joining us here. But I wanted to mention, just one final thing as we end out this section on just basically commerce. Your health and your wealth are so very important, and you've probably heard that statement. A lot of times early in life, a lot of people are expending their health to gain their wealth, and then later they expend their wealth to regain their health. And so how much better would it be if you just planned intentionally to be able to be the healthiest and wealthiest you could be in the future so you could do some really great things? And so with that, I just wanted to highlight again, just going into 2019, what are the resolutions you're making? And talking about community, there's a lot of different communities here, and I just encourage you, just a brief statement, to plug into a local community, especially this time of year. I know that a lot of communities are looking for help. I am going to be going to Healings in Motion, which is a nonprofit of 11 plus years right here in Central Valley in San Joaquin County. And Healings in Motion is a great organization, nonprofit, dedicated to stroke awareness, brain health, and also just giving people the support they need when they're going through a difficult time like that, but specifically about stroke awareness, brain health. And we also just had our caregiver support conference. There was a few hundred people there, and that was the Inner Safari that is hosted every single year. But plug yourself into a community. I know there's a lot of communities that you could really assist in. And so with that, Bob, in terms of just thinking about going into next year, but just in terms of people as they consider what they want to plan going into this upcoming term, any final thoughts here?
I think that just mentioning that often people come up with New Year's resolutions, and 99% of the time they amount to nothing. If you want to make a change in your life, start now. Start today. Don't put it off even till tomorrow. Think about what it is that you want to make better, and start working on your plan today.
That's great.
Those are my thoughts.
That's great. And, that avoids procrastination if you decide to make and take action today and actually put it into action, putting the action into action. And some people might say, again, you've heard me say this last show, and it's just been something that's resonated with me over the months. Some people might be fearful of what the future holds for whatever reason. Maybe they've experienced what some would call failure, although it's a success if that failure teaches you something to do something bigger and better, which it usually will. So just because you fail does not make you a failure. But some people might say, well, what if I stumble and fall? That's not really the question. The question is, what if you spread wings and fly? This is Jim T. Chong with Walk the Talk. Again, from KXVS, the voice of Stockton. Have a great new year. I'll catch you next week, same time, same place, as we talk about advancing cultures, commerce, and community. Have a great one, and have a great week. Enjoy Thanksgiving, and here is to a great Christmas as we approach December.